The fatal mistaken story opens in the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Trade Union on the planet Nexus Prime. Ambassador David Ross, Earth's first diplomatic envoy to the Alien Confederation, sits calmly at the negotiation table. Round him, representatives from 12 different alien species watch with barely concealed contempt. Ross has spent 3 months trying to secure Earth's membership in the trade union. The humans are newcomers to the galactic stage, having only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. Most alien species see them as primitive upstarts who stumbled upon advanced technology too quickly. The Krellian delegate, a tall reptilian creature named Voss, leads the opposition. His people have dominated galactic politics for centuries, and he views humanity's rapid expansion as a threat to their authority. The Aquari representative, a blue-skinned amphibian called Mira, agrees with Voss, believing humans are too violent and unpredictable for civilized space. During the tense negotiations, Ross presents Earth's proposal for peaceful trade and cooperation. He speaks of humanity's desire to learn from older civilizations and contribute their own knowledge of agriculture, medicine, and engineering. The human ambassador remains patient despite the constant interruptions and insults from various delegates. However, the aliens have already made their decision. They see humanity's military capabilities as dangerous, especially after learning about Earth's history of warfare. The species that control the trade union fear that humans might eventually challenge their power structure. As the session ends, Voss approaches Ross privately and offers what seems like a compromise. He suggests a private meeting the next day to discuss terms that might be acceptable to both sides. Ross, hoping for a breakthrough, agrees to meet at a neutral location outside the main city. The next morning, Ross travels to an abandoned mining facility on Nexus Prime's smaller moon. He brings only to security guards, wanting to show good faith. When they arrive, Voss is waiting with what appears to be a small diplomatic escort. The meeting begins normally, with Voss outlining potential conditions for Earth's membership. But as Ross reviews the documents, he realizes something is wrong. The terms are impossibly harsh. They would essentially make Earth a vassal state to the trade union. When Ross objects, Voss drops all pretense. He reveals that the trade union has no intention of accepting humanity as equals. Instead, they plan to contain human expansion through economic manipulation and, if necessary, military action. The negotiation was just a way to buy time while they prepared their forces. Ross stands to leave, but Voss signals his guards. Energy weapons emerge from hidden positions around the facility. The human ambassador realizes he has walked into a trap, but he shows no fear. Instead, he activates a recording device on his uniform and calmly states his final message for Earth. "If you're hearing this, then I'm probably dead," Ross says into the recorder. They never intended to negotiate in good faith. They fear us, and they should. Tell the president that humanity will not bow to alien tyranny. Voss orders his soldiers to fire. The energy blasts tear through Ross and his guards within seconds. The Krellian delegate watches coldly as the humans die, believing he has eliminated a threat to galactic stability. But Voss has made a critical error. He underestimated human intelligence networks and their surveillance technology. Unknown to the aliens, Ross's ship has been transmitting everything back to Earth through quantum communication links. The entire assassination was recorded and broadcast live to human military command. On Earth, President Miller and the Joint Chiefs of Staff watch in horror as their ambassador is murdered. The room falls silent as the transmission ends. The president's face hardens with cold rage. For months, they had hoped for peaceful integration with galactic civilization. Now they realize that the aliens see humans as nothing more than animals, to be controlled or eliminated. General Hayes, the head of Earth's Space Command, breaks the silence. "Mr. President, the fleet is ready. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact." President Miller nods slowly. They wanted to see what humans are capable of when threatened. They're about to find out. The president authorizes the activation of Operation Burning Sky, a secret military plan developed in case diplomacy failed. Within hours, every major military installation on Earth buzzes with activity. Warships that have been hidden in asteroid fields and dark space begin moving toward their targets. The story ends with Voss returning to Nexus Prime, satisfied that the human problem has been solved. He has no idea that Earth's response is already in motion, and that humanity's true nature is about to be revealed to the galaxy. The aliens thought they were dealing with another weak species seeking their approval. They were wrong. They just declared war on a species that has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare. The silent flee 3 days after Ambassador Ross's assassination. The galaxy continues its normal routine. On Nexus Prime, the Trade Union Council celebrates what they believe is a successful elimination of the human threat. Voss receives praise from other delegates for his decisive action. They assume Earth will simply retreat back to their home system once they realize their weakness. The Krellian military commander, General Thack, briefs the council on their defensive preparations. Their fleet of 300 warships guards the major trade routes, while sensor networks monitor all approaches to trade union space. Thack assures the delegates that if humans attempt any retaliation, they will be detected and destroyed long before reaching any important targets. However, the aliens have made a fundamental miscalculation. They judge human technology based on the simple cargo ships Earth used for initial contact. They don't realize that humanity has been developing military technology in secret, learning from every alien encounter. And captured piece of technology. Captain Tom Blake commands the human stealth carrier Retribution as it drifts silently through the void between star systems. His ship is one of 12 identical vessels that have spent 2 years infiltrating alien space, using advanced cloaking technology reverse-engineered from alien wreckage. The human fleet moves undetected through trade union territory. Blake studies the tactical display showing alien fleet positions. The trade union forces are scattered across dozens of systems. Confident in their numerical superiority, they patrol predictable routes and communicate using frequencies that human intelligence cracked months ago. Their arrogance has made them careless. On Earth, Admiral Kane coordinates the largest military operation in human history. From the underground command center beneath Colorado, the walls display real-time intelligence from spy satellites, infiltration teams, and merchant ships that have been secretly gathering data on alien capabilities. Every trade union military base, supply depot, and command center has been mapped and assigned a target priority. Kane speaks with the 12 fleet commanders through quantum communication links. Each captain reports their position and readiness. Status. The plan is simple but devastating. Simultaneous strikes on every major alien military installation within a 50 light-year radius of Earth. The attacks will happen so quickly that the aliens won't have time to coordinate a response. Captain Lisa Park commands the destroyer squadron approaching the Krellian home system. Her ships hide in the shadow of a gas giant's moons, watching the enemy fleet conduct routine patrols. The aliens have no idea that human sensors have been tracking their movements for weeks, learning their patterns and identifying weaknesses in their formations. The Krellian ships are impressive by galactic standards, massive vessels bristling with energy, weapons, and protected by powerful shields. But human engineers have studied the wreckage from every skirmish and trading encounter. They know exactly where to hit to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. Back on Nexus Prime, Trade Union Intelligence Officer Cole reviews reports from across their territory. Something feels wrong, but he can't identify the problem. Merchant traffic has remained normal, and their sensor networks show no signs of human military activity. Yet small details nag at him: missing cargo ships, communication delays from outer systems, and unexplained sensor malfunctions. Cole brings his concerns to General Thack, but the Krellian commander dismisses them. Thack believes humans are too primitive to pose a real threat. Even if they attempted an attack, Their small fleet would be easily destroyed by trade union defenses. The general's confidence comes from centuries of military dominance over weaker species. Unknown to Thak, human sabotage teams have already infiltrated key installations throughout trade union space. These operatives, many of them disguised as traitors or refugees, have spent months placing explosive charges and computer viruses in critical systems. When the main attack begins, these hidden assets will strike simultaneously to maximize chaos and confusion. Commander Jack Reed leads one such team on the industrial world of Forge Prime. His people have been posing as human refugees seeking asylum while secretly mapping the planet's military production facilities. Tonight, they will plant charges that will destroy the factories producing ammunition and spare parts for the trade union fleet. As the final preparations complete, Admiral Kane issues the attack order to all human forces. The message is simple. Remember Ambassador Ross. Show no mercy. Across the galaxy, human ships power up their weapons and begin their final approach to targets. Stealth fighters launch from hidden carriers. Sabotage teams activate their charges. And the most powerful human warships drop their cloaking fields to reveal themselves at point-blank range from alien command centers. The trade union is about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology or numbers. It's their ability to plan, adapt, and strike with overwhelming coordination. The aliens wanted to see what happens when you corner a dangerous predator. They're about to find out. The storm breaks. The attack begins at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time across 12 star systems simultaneously, the first sign of trouble. For the trade union comes when their primary communication relay on Nexus Prime explodes in a brilliant flash of light. Within seconds, similar explosions rock command centers, shipyards, and military bases throughout alien space. General Thak is reviewing morning reports when the Krellian homeworld's orbital defense platforms simply vanish from his tactical display. Before he can react, human warships decloak directly above the planet's capital city. The massive vessels had been hiding there for hours, their stealth systems making them invisible to all sensors. Captain Park's destroyer squadron strikes the Krellian fleet while they're still in formation. Human torpedoes, enhanced with alien technology and improved with human engineering, tear through enemy shields like paper. The first salvo destroys 6 alien cruisers before the Krellians even realize they're under attack. The aliens' numerical advantage means nothing when they can't coordinate their forces. Human saboteurs have severed communication networks across their territory, leaving each base and fleet to fight alone. What should have been an organized defense becomes a series of isolated battles that humans can win through superior tactics and positioning. On Forge Prime, Commander Reed's team watches from a safe distance as the weapon factories they've been infiltrating for months disappear in massive explosions. The charges were placed with surgical precision to cause maximum damage to production capability while minimizing civilian casualties. Humans may be ruthless, but they're not monsters. Admiral Kane monitors the battle from Earth, watching as decades of careful planning unfold perfectly. Each human captain knows exactly what to do and when to do it. There are no lengthy radio discussions or complex orders. Every detail was rehearsed in secret training exercises. The aliens face an enemy that fights like a single organism with 12 heads. The Aquari delegate Mira finds herself trapped on Nexus Prime as human fighters sweep through the orbital defenses. She watches in horror as the proud trade union fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours before, gets systematically dismantled by ships that appeared from nowhere. The humans aren't just winning, they're demonstrating complete tactical superiority. Captain Blake's carrier Retribution launches wave after wave of strike fighters against the trade union's main supply depot. The alien defenders fire desperately at targets that vanish and reappear like ghosts. Human pilots, trained from childhood in 3-dimensional combat, dance between enemy fire with impossible precision. Intelligence officer Cole finally understands what his instincts had been trying to tell him. The humans hadn't retreated after their ambassador's death. They had been preparing. Every merchant ship, every refugee, every diplomatic contact had been gathering intelligence for this moment. The trade union had been fighting a war for months without knowing it. The battle for the Nexus Prime system becomes the focal point of the conflict. Voss, the Krellian who ordered Ambassador Ross's assassination, commands the defense of the government. District. He watches his carefully laid plans crumble as human marines land directly outside the council chamber where the murder was planned. These aren't the desperate soldiers of a primitive species seeking revenge. They move with professional precision, using advanced weapons and tactics that make the alien defenders look clumsy and outdated. Each human squad operates independently, but coordinates perfectly with others, adapting to changing conditions faster than the aliens can respond. The most shocking discovery for the trade union comes when they realize how long humans have been preparing for this war. Captured data files reveal surveillance networks that have been monitoring alien military activities for years. Human intelligence knew the location of every major base, the specifications of every ship design, and the personal habits of every important commander. General Thack makes a desperate attempt to rally his scattered forces, but human jamming prevents him from reaching most of his fleet. The few ships that do receive his orders find themselves walking into traps set by enemy forces that seem to predict every move. It becomes clear that the humans aren't just tactically superior. They understand their enemy better than the enemy understands itself. As the first day of battle ends, the scope of the disaster becomes apparent to the surviving trade union leaders. 30% of their military infrastructure has been destroyed or captured. Their main fleet is scattered and demoralized. Most importantly, their aura of invincibility has been shattered in front of every species in the galaxy. But the humans aren't finished. This first strike was just meant to cripple the trade union's ability to coordinate resistance. The real war is about to begin, and humanity has spent centuries learning how to fight wars of annihilation. The aliens wanted to eliminate a threat to their power structure. Instead, they've awakened something far more dangerous than they ever. Imagine the price of Arrogantione week after the initial assault. The full scope of humanity's strategic planning becomes clear. The trade union's surviving leaders gather in an emergency session on the fortress world of Heaven's Gate, their most heavily defended system. What they discover in their damage reports defies everything they thought they knew about warfare. The humans haven't just attacked military targets. They've systematically dismantled the trade union's entire power structure. Supply lines that took centuries to establish have been severed. Communication networks that connected thousands of worlds now lie in ruins. Most devastating of all, the complex web of economic relationships that held the Confederation together has collapsed. Voss, his reptilian features marked by stress and exhaustion, addresses the emergency council. His voice carries none of its former arrogance. The Krellian delegate who once dismissed humans as primitive vermin now speaks of an enemy that fights with terrifying intelligence and coordination. They knew everything, Voss admits to the assembled delegates. Every base location, every supply route, every weakness in our defenses. This wasn't a spontaneous retaliation. They've been planning this war since their first contact with our civilization. The Aquari representative Mira reviews intelligence reports from the few survivors of the human attacks. The picture they paint is of an enemy that fights unlike any species the galaxy has ever encountered. Human forces don't simply destroy their targets. They capture key installations intact, steal vital intelligence, and then use that information to strike the next target more effectively. Intelligence Officer Cole presents the most disturbing discovery of all. Analysis of human battle tactics reveals that every engagement was carefully designed to gather information about trade union capabilities. Even their victories against human forces were actually defeats, because the humans learned more from each battle than they lost. The aliens realize they've been outmaneuvered at every level, while they celebrated their technological superiority and ancient wisdom. Humanity had been studying them like laboratory specimens. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange had been an opportunity for humans to gather intelligence. Captain Blake's carrier group has now captured 3 major trade Union shipyards, along with all their technical specifications and construction data. Human engineers are already reverse engineering alien technology, improving upon designs that took the trade unions centuries to develop. Within months, human ships will carry weapons more advanced than anything in the alien arsenal. On Earth, President Miller addresses the Global Defense Council via secure hologram. The room is filled with military leaders and intelligence officers who have dedicated their careers to preparing for this moment. The president's words are measured but firm. They thought they could murder our ambassador and intimidate us into submission. Miller states, "They were wrong. We will not negotiate with murderers. We will not compromise with those who see us as animals." This war ends when the trade union surrenders unconditionally or ceases to exist. The human war machine now operates at full capacity. Factories that once produced consumer goods have been converted to manufacture weapons and warships. Civilian populations that grew up reading about ancient Earth conflicts now see their history lessons become reality. Humanity is returning to what it does best: organized, methodical warfare. General Thack attempts to rally the remaining Krellian fleet for a counterattack on human-held systems. But his forces are no match for an enemy that seems to anticipate every move. Human admirals don't just outfight their opponents, they outthink them at every level of strategy and tactics. The battle for the Centauri Junction becomes a turning point in the war. This strategic location controls access to dozens of star systems, and its capture would allow humans to strike deep into trade Union territory. The aliens mass their remaining forces for a desperate defense. But the humans don't attack where expected. Instead, they bypass the heavily defended junction entirely and strike at the undefended systems beyond. By the time the trade union realizes their mistake, human forces have captured 6 worlds and are threatening the alien capital systems. Admiral Kane coordinates the offensive from his command ship, watching as human forces implement strategies developed by the greatest military minds in Earth's history. The aliens are fighting a species that has studied warfare for millennia, learning from every conflict and adapting every successful tactic. The trade union's member species begin to panic as human forces advance on multiple fronts. Some planets attempt to negotiate separate peace treaties, only to discover that humanity has no interest in partial surrender. Others try to flee to distant systems, but human intelligence networks track their movements and intercept them. As the 4th week of war begins, the once mighty trade union has been reduced to scattered groups of survivors, hiding in remote systems. Their fleets are destroyed, their worlds captured, and their leadership in complete disarray. They finally understand the terrible truth. They haven't just lost a war. They've been completely outclassed by a superior opponent. The New Order 6 months after Ambassador Ross's assassination. Voss kneels in the same council chamber where he ordered the human Envoy's death. But now the roles have been reversed. The former Krellian delegate wears simple prisoner clothing, his hands bound, as he faces a tribunal of human officers. The chamber itself has been transformed, where alien delegates once sat in positions of power. Human administrators now coordinate the reconstruction of what was once trade union space. The ornate decorations celebrating alien supremacy have been replaced with simple, functional equipment designed for efficient governance. Admiral Kane serves as the chief judge of the war crimes tribunal. His uniform bears the insignia of the newly formed Terran Administrative Zone, which now encompasses over 200 former trade union worlds. Kane's expression remains neutral as he reads the charges against the aliens responsible for starting the war. You stand accused of the murder of Ambassador David Ross, a diplomatic representative under the protection of galactic law. Kane states, "You are also charged with conspiracy to wage aggressive war against the human species." How do you answer these charges? Voss struggles to find words. The proud alien who once dismissed humans as primitive animals now faces the reality of complete defeat. His civilization, which had dominated the galaxy for centuries, has been dismantled in less than a year by a species they considered beneath notice. The trial proceeds with methodical precision. Human prosecutors present evidence gathered during the war, including Voss's own recorded statements about eliminating the human threat. There are no passionate speeches or emotional appeals, just facts presented with the same cold efficiency that characterized the human military campaign. President Miller observes the proceedings from Earth via quantum communication link. The human leader has aged visibly during the war, but her resolve remains unshaken. She knows that this moment will define humanity's relationship with the galaxy for generations to come. Captain Blake, now promoted to admiral, commands the occupation forces on Nexus Prime. His soldiers maintain order with a surprisingly light touch, unlike the brutal suppressions that marked alien conquests in the past. Human occupation focuses on rebuilding infrastructure and establishing legitimate governments. The key to human success wasn't just military superiority, it was their understanding of governance and administration. While aliens had ruled through fear and intimidation, humans offer something the galaxy had never seen: competent, honest leadership that serves the people rather than exploiting them. Trade routes that had been disrupted by the war are already being restored under human management. Worlds that suffered under trade union taxation find themselves with improved economies and better living conditions. Former slave species discover that their new human administrators actually enforce laws protecting their rights. Intelligence Officer Cole, now working for Human Intelligence Services, provides a final briefing on the war's conclusion. His analysis reveals the full scope of humanity's strategic planning. The humans hadn't just prepared for military victory. They had developed detailed plans for governing the territory they would capture. They planned for peace before they planned for war, Cole reports to his new human supervisors. While we focused on military tactics, they studied our social structures, economic systems, and governmental weaknesses. They knew exactly how to replace our institutions with more effective alternatives. The tribunal reaches its verdict after 3 days of testimony. Voss and his co-conspirators are found guilty of war crimes and sentenced to life imprisonment. On a remote prison world, they will live, but they will never again threaten peaceful civilizations. General Thack, the Krellian military commander, receives a different fate. His conduct during the war showed honor and professionalism despite serving an evil cause. Human authorities offer him a choice: exile to a neutral world, or service in the new Terran Defense Force as an advisor on alien military tactics. The galaxy watches nervously as humanity consolidates its new empire. But their fears prove unfounded. Unlike previous galactic powers, humans show no interest in conquest for its own sake. They establish democratic governments on captured worlds and gradually grant independence to those ready for self-rule. Admiral Kane addresses the reformed Galactic Council in its new home on Earth. Representatives from dozens of species listen as he outlines humanity's vision for the galaxy. There will be no more trade unions dominated by a few powerful species. No more assassination of diplomatic envoys. No more exploitation of weaker civilizations. Ambassador Ross came to you in peace. Kane concludes. He offered friendship and cooperation. You responded with murder and threats. Now you live under human law, and you will learn what justice actually means. The story ends with a memorial service for Ambassador David Ross. His sacrifice has been transformed into something greater, the foundation of a new galactic order, based on human principles of equality, justice, and mutual respect. The aliens, who thought they could intimidate humanity into submission, have learned the hardest lesson in galactic history: never underestimate a species. that has spent millennia perfecting the art of war and governance. Earth's revenge was swift, total, and ultimately merciful. The end asterisk.